It's the Ed Bernstein Show, Home Edition. Now, here's your host, Ed Bernstein.
Hi, and welcome to our show. This is Ed Bernstein. And once again, I really trying to communicate how important it is to get information about our judges and our judicial candidates out to you, our viewer. And once again, we're going to do a show with two very esteemed district court judges, Judge Richard Scotti, and a little bit later on in the show, Judge Susan Johnson. Judge Scotti, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Ed. Thanks for letting me be on your show and introducing myself to your viewers. Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
And I see that you're at work. You want to give us a quick rundown of how things really stand today at the courthouse with COVID-19?
Right. Yeah, I'd be glad to. So most of us judges are still coming into the office. We're trying to do as much work outside of the office also as we can. We have a system where we can remote in and review all the papers and pleadings and process orders. But the chief judge and the governor, of course, have strongly suggested that we don't come in if necessary. We work from home as long as we can be efficient and accurate and still achieve justice. When we do come in, anytime we're around anybody else, we're wearing our masks. The chief judge has required that we judges wear masks even when we're coming and going around our floor. The attorneys are recommended to handle their cases remotely. And that system is working really well. And so justice is still being served here, Ed.
Do you see this continuing in the future in that a lot more of these virtual hearings, a lot more administrative matters or uncontested matters being held via video instead of people having to go down to the Justice Center?
I do, and I think it's a good thing. Now, setting aside, of course, there's a lot of different views on what we should do in light of this situation that we're in. But a lot of good is coming out of this, these changes, because at this time, attorneys are realizing they can handle a lot of their business from their offices. They can bring their clients in and prep their clients and look at the documents and save time, but not having to pack everything up and haul themselves to court. A lot of attorneys were charging for travel time, and we can save the clients money. We can be more efficient. The judge can still get as much work done when the attorneys are not actually present in the courtroom. I'd personally like to see it continue. I think it's going to work. And the only one minor glitch is sometimes you have the attorneys talking over each other, and we have to work that out on who has the floor. But other than that, this has been really efficient, and it's going to lead to some great changes to our court system.
I'm smiling because attorneys talking over each other is going to occur whether it's in your courtroom or on the video, right?
It will, but at least when they're here, I have my marshal who can help keep a little bit of order.
Yeah. I know you grew up in where, Northern California?
Both Southern and Northern. I went to Hastings Law School in Northern California. I graduated top 10% of my class and then began my career actually in Southern California. Been all over the state in California. I'm really glad to be here where my wife's family is from. And
how would you describe your childhood? I mean, you were kind of, it was like a lower middle class family or?
Exactly, lower middle class. The types of jobs that I had, I was a painter. One of the jobs I had is I painted the red stripe all around the gasoline islands that you have at the little mini marts and stuff. Mm-hmm. I was the guy who went around and painted all those red stripes. I was a janitor. I worked on putting tar on tanker trucks. I actually started out doing a little bit more substantive stuff at my dad's business. I did some accounts receivable, some supervision. Before that, he had a scuba diving equipment business, and I was actually in the back in production for a couple summers, gluing together snorkels. I had a variety of jobs, and I'm glad you asked because it gave me a lot of connection with businesses, with small businesses. It gave me an understanding of how difficult it is to run a business, the employers, the employees, earning money, bringing the money in, how business affects families, how business affects children, how business affects the clients and customers. And 30 years of that type of experience, more than 30 years, I have developed an understanding of how business works. So I'm going to bring that experience and stability and continuity to the bench again for another 6 years if the people decide to elect me.
What you're talking about really is work ethic. And before you became a judge, when you were an attorney in private practice, I mean, you jumped into a lot of things, a lot of volunteering, a lot of state bar committees, a lot of local bar committees, right? I mean, you've always had that urge to give back.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I've lived here for 30 years now. I've practiced law here for 30 years. When I first moved here, I wanted to give back because the community's been very good to me. And I think it's the right thing to do for attorneys and judges. I started off by being an author and then an editor for the Ask a Lawyer column of the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Then I served on the Professionalism Committee, where I helped develop and market the Lawyer's Pledge of Professionalism. I served as a Supreme Court settlement judge at the pleasure of the Nevada Supreme Court for 10 years, helping people resolve their disputes so they can get back to their families and their lives and their businesses and helping people on their own. I served as a fee dispute coordinator, where I helped clients resolve their disputes with lawyers to make sure that they're getting fair charges for a fair amount of work. I also served as a member of the Client Security Fund with Chief Justice Cherry for a while, where we helped protect the rights of clients over attorneys that have disappeared or other instances like that. I also was elected by my peers twice to serve as a governor of the State Bar Board of Governors, where I helped to promote transparency and accountability and responsibility and diversity and equality to the entire legal profession. These are all things that I did not for compensation, because there was none, not for any personal reasons, because I wanted to serve and it's the right thing to do.
Now, this is your second election, right? You ran, 6 years ago?
Yes,
Nevada,
sir.
I should say that our district court judges here in Nevada serve in 6-year terms. You were originally elected in 2014. What is different in this election outside of the COVID-19? I mean, when you're getting, I know it's hard to get out, but you're trying your best to get out and talk to people with the circumstance being as it is. But what are there different issues, different platforms today than there were 6 years ago when you ran?
Well, I've developed a platform in action, which is perhaps different. As a judge, I've developed a greater understanding of a lot of the issues that attorneys face when they come into court from a different perspective. I was an advocate for 30 years, and now I'm a judge, and I see issues a little bit differently. And for instance, I know that it's my responsibility now, Ed, to serve and protect the community. And I do that by adjudicating the rules of law. And the rules of law keep us safe, and the rules of law bring order to society. And it's my responsibility to ensure that those rules of law are properly adjudicated. And I understand now how critically important it is to have those rules of law adjudicated and resolved by jurors. Our jury system establishes a very sacred right, one of the most important rights that people have been fighting for and struggling for 2,500 years, and that's the right of your peers resolve your legal disputes. A lot of people say that the jurors are the so-called conscience of the community. Well, the jurors do bring their background and experience and common sense to the courtroom. And whenever possible, legitimate disputes, I want to have those resolved by the jurors, because I recognize now what a great system we have. The system works from the judicial perspective, and I want to make sure that I still allow the jurors as much as possible to resolve disputes, because it protects our society and it helps protect the community from both the individual perspective as well as the business perspective.
Well, in preparing for my interview with you, I dug up some old previous interviews that you had, and you made a statement which I really enjoyed reading. Who is this? Vegas Legal Magazine interview. Let me remind you what you said.
Okay.
When walking into my court.
This isn't a. Go ahead.
No.
I hope this isn't like a Chris Wallace gotcha.
No. Whether practicing law, sitting on the bench, or driving a truck, we are all a work in progress. Every victory, every loss, every mistake, every failed argument, every misspoken word, and every road taken leaves a mark in our memory that changes us. If we pay attention and remain receptive in the face of adversity, these moments help us become better people, better advocates for others, and better decision makers. So celebrate your advances and learn from your setbacks.
Thank you.
What are the things in life that led you to say that?
We're not computers, we're people. We're learning every single day. And as a judge, I realize that when I'm coming to work every day. And this is the same thing that I felt in any employment that I've had. Every time you come to work, you need to say to yourself, I want to listen more. I want to work harder. I want to hold honor and respect for the fact that I have this opportunity to either serve the public, serve the community, serve my employer, work to protect the community, and work to protect my family. Every single day, every job has been a challenge because you can always improve. That's been my motto. That's been my desire. When I come to court now, I say to myself, let me be a little bit better than the day before. Let me listen better. Let me ensure that there's going to be utmost due process. I want to make sure that I'm the best that I can be. And you know what? Sometimes, since we're human, we make mistakes. And that's part of the system. When we make mistakes, our cases, which, by the way, are not just numbers. These are real people with real lives that we're resolving their disputes. And sometimes we do make mistakes, Ed. And those cases go up to the Nevada Supreme Court. And sometimes the Nevada Supreme Court says we got it wrong. But you know what? I love that, because that means that the system is working, and that's the American way of justice. And so I have deep respect for our system. I think I've learned it through all the hard work that I've had and all the jobs that I've had.
Judge, we have about a minute left. You want to just make the case to voters out there on why you should be reelected?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I've worked hard, 30 years. I've practiced law. I've broad experience in all areas of the law, from personal injury, malpractice, breach of contract. I was one of the lead attorneys on the Bovis case, which was the longest civil jury trial in the history of Nevada. My peers have rated me A+ preeminent, which is the highest rating possible in legal ability and ethical standards. I've brought courage to the bench, courage where I'm able to stand up and ignore special interests and do what is right. I brought ethics to the bench. I'm not interested in whether someone has a lawyer or not lawyer, it's a big case or a small case, what your political ideology is, sex, culture, race, none of that's important. What's important to me is the facts that are before me, making the right decision. I want to do what's right. I want to do what's fair. I have 600 trial days as a judge, and I'm going to bring this experience and this passion. And I am so honored that I've had this opportunity to serve for the last 5.5 years. And I humbly ask for your support so I could serve another 6 years.
Thank you so much, District Court Judge Richard Scotti. And we'll be back in a few minutes with District Court Judge Susan Johnson. Right back.
Thank you.
Well, we're back with District Court Judge Susan Johnson. And Judge Johnson, you have a peculiar honor of serving in district court with a spouse who's also a district court judge.
That's right. We're one of the rare married district court judges in the country.
So, I mean, to me, it sounds like the making of a reality show. at home with the married judges. Who gets the last word in?
Oh, well, me, of course. I've got seniority.
You've had a career in private practice for a number of years on the plaintiff side, on the defense side. You've been on both sides, in family court, out of family court. And now, and this is what your third term, or?
Yes, I'm right now in my third term, and I'm running for a re-election to my fourth.
That does give you some seniority there, because you certainly don't look like you've been there that many years.
Yes, I have. In fact, I've been a resident here in Clark County since November of 1963. So I was raised here.
Yeah. Well, that's a long time. 63. I mean, this town has really changed.
Yes, it has.
How did your family end up in Las Vegas?
My dad is a firefighter, and he was a firefighter in Wichita Falls, and the opportunities were just so much better here in Las Vegas. In fact, a firefighter in Las Vegas was making more than a battalion chief in Wichita Falls, and plus my dad was a plumber, and he knew he could make a lot more money out here, which he did. So that's how we ended up out here.
Well, and how did you meet your husband, Eric?
Well, he worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I had clerked for the U.S. Attorney's Office. So we had some friends and coworkers that, meshed together. So we knew the same people.
Right. So, it is very unusual to be, married to a fellow judge, particularly when you serve in the same jurisdiction and the same level of court.
Right. And even when we serve on the same committees, like right now, we're on the jury committee together.
And speaking of juries, I know that things are different right now with COVID-19. When do you anticipate things coming back to some normalcy soon?
Well, it depends on how this COVID-19 pandemic works out. But I will tell you that what we are working on right now is what we have. As of phase 2, we went ahead and we summoned jurors to serve, and the first trials that we are anticipating will be about August 24th. We are starting slowly with just a few trials. We're going to start with criminal trials, those where they're the oldest ones, probably the most serious crimes, and those who have invoked where the defendants have invoked their right to a speedy trial. We're going to start with those trials, see how things go. I don't know how sensitive that the jurors will be whenever they come in, and we'll just have to see how it goes. And if it goes smoothly, then we'll be able to implement more jury trials. We do have bench trials that are still available. It's just that most attorneys don't want to do their bench trial by what we call blue jeans, which is just another form of Zoom.
Yeah, I recall at one time you had a construction defect case that lasted 9 months or so.
Yep.
That would be a difficult kind of trial to get a jury together for now, I would think. And I'm sure it was then.
It was under normal circumstances. We had to summon in about 750 jurors. We had to time qualify them first to make sure that they could serve for a long period of time. And then we did the cause challenges and preemptory challenges. But yeah, it took about a month to pick that jury.
When you're picking a jury that's going to sit there for that many months, are you really getting a reflection of our peers? Or are you just getting people who are not working and retired? It must be difficult to really get a fair distribution of jurors.
Well, in that sense, we actually had, of course, this is about 2008. So we had several folks that were unemployed, but we also had teachers. We also had government workers. We had at least one person work for the Las Vegas Valley Water District. So we did have some retired folks as well. We actually picked 16 jurors. 8 of those were alternates. One of those jurors alternates ended up dropping out just because he was a nighttime worker. He really wanted to be on that jury, but found he couldn't stay awake, so he had to be excused. But we did keep all 15.
Right, and you're handling a criminal calendar. You also and civil.
I hear civil and construction defect cases again. I did for about 3 years also hear criminal cases because in 2014 we had several judges that either retired or they were elevated up to the appeals court. So we needed to get some other judges to hear criminal cases, and it was a lot of fun. But then, of course, 3 years later or 2 years later, we needed to change what we were doing. And so I ended up back in the construction defect court as well as civil court. But I do hear criminal and overflow matters.
Yeah, and of course, the number of judges has dramatically increased since you first took the bench, right? What do we have, probably in a 2022 or something like that when you first took the bench? I don't recall.
Well, I went actually for a new seat, Department 22. We had 4 judges add on at that point. We had 1 go to family and then 3 go to civil criminal, Departments 22, 23, and 24. And then we added another judge, at least in 2005. And that was Department 25 that Judge Delaney now sits in. And then, of course, we're now up to 32 in the civil criminal realm. We have 20 now in family court, and we've just added 6. So we've got 6 new seats. So we've got 26 family court judges as of January and 32 civil criminal judges.
So just doing some quick math in my head, so it's a greater than 50% increase in just the few terms that you've been there.
That's true.
Yeah, it's so when you look back on what you've accomplished, I mean, you've been a judge for a while. You've had a lot of very important cases, made a lot of very critical decisions, some of them popular with every decision is popular with half the people and unpopular with the other half, right? Including the lawyers representing them.
We upset 50% of the people sometimes every day.
So when you look back, what are some of the more gratifying times for you?
Well, I will say one that was very gratifying was where I was actually going to be trying a sexual assault case where a man was accused of sexually assaulting his girlfriend's minor daughter. And he had actually been in jail waiting trial for over a year. And at that point, we were going to do an evidentiary hearing on whether or not the child needed to testify or whether she could testify through other sources like a healthcare provider, a psychologist, that kind of thing. And when we had that hearing, the mother admitted the child had recanted. And we went through that, and we stopped the hearing immediately. And the prosecutor, he went and talked with her, had the providers go talk to her, and sure enough, she had recanted. She had actually gone on the internet to figure out how to get rid of her mother's boyfriend by making these accusations. And I will tell you, I could not sign that order for dismissal fast enough. So it was gratifying to get an innocent man out of jail before he actually went to trial. I'm just so sorry that he actually served over a year in jail waiting trial.
Wow, yeah. And as you look forward to your next term, if you get reelected, what are some of the changes you'd like to try to implement?
Well, we've got an evolving court, and it has evolved so much even since I've been there. For example, you remember when we had mounds and mounds of paper. I would take home 2 banker's boxes of paper to prepare for my calendar. We are paperless now, and the attorneys can file from their offices as opposed to sending the runner out. They no longer have filing fees. We are now processing orders with this COVID thing. What has happened is when we're faced with adversity, we stepped up to the plate and we have changed the way that we do business. We are able to do a lot of things at home through, like my computer here at home is just as effective as using it at the office. So I don't necessarily need to travel in. We're also working out things to where we can be more responsive with respect to police officers. And it's actually cool stuff that is going on. And I would love to see us continue to implement those kinds of programs and that kind of thing. So.
Oh, yeah, I agree. This has caused a lot of us to re-examine how it is that we communicate professionally. For sure, socially, but even professionally. And there are some positive things coming out of here that are really going to help efficiencies in the court system, in the judicial system, with witnesses, with jurors, with saving time, saving the court's time, the litigants' time. There's some positive things we can draw out of this, and I hope that we're all smart enough to take what we've learned and build on it.
That's what I'm hoping too.
Yeah. So are you still running marathons?
Well, I ran my last one in September, and then we were slated to run a half marathon in October up in Healdsburg. And as we were flying out, the Camp Kincaid fire hit, and so we were evacuated, and so we didn't get a chance to run that. And then, of course, I've had some personal issues in terms of we built a new house this year. We've been moving, and then now I'm running for re-election. So I have not had a chance to run since September. But that was my 7th marathon.
Different type of marathon you're running now, I guess.
I am.
That was your 7th one. And you run them with your husband, Eric, right? Don't you occasionally?
Oh, yes. And sometimes my children as well.
And how old are your
daughters, both my daughters and he, and also my daughter's significant other, we all ran in September.
And your daughters are still living in Vegas?
No, they both live in Kansas City. One is an attorney who is working in Kansas City, and the other is a destination wedding photographer. And she travels the world to take these magnificent wedding photography. So that's what she does.
Yeah. Wedding business a little bit down right now, I understand, right?
Yes.
People getting virtual weddings, I would think.
Well, I just know that Emma's business sort of tanked right now, but she's building back up. She's getting more appointments.
But as a judge, you're able to marry people, and you enjoy doing that?
Yes. In fact, I've got one that I'm going to do on Saturday evening, and it would take a few hours to tell you how it turned out that I am doing this wedding. But their wedding canceled, and a lot of ups and downs, and they're getting married on Saturday.
Yeah, that must be one of the happier moments of being a judge, and that, and of course, getting innocent defendants out of jail.
Yes.
We have about a minute left, Judge Johnson. So, you want to make the case of why you should be reelected to our viewers?
Well, I would have to tell you that I am the most qualified of the 2 candidates that are running for election. I have been, as I indicated, pretty much a lifelong resident of Clark County. I have not only tried several hundred cases and heard thousands and thousands of cases, but whenever I was a lawyer, I was also chosen to be an arbitrator by my peers, and I had arbitrated to decision over 600 cases. So I was an AV-rated lawyer back in the day. So I've got about 35 years of experience. So I think I am the most qualified candidate for this job.
Yeah, and I should let our viewers know, AV-rated lawyer means it's the top rating you can get, and you're rated by other lawyers in the community. So it's quite an honor. So thank you so much, Judge Johnson. Good luck in the election, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.